Alright, hi, it's been a while. So what have I been up to? Basically, I've just changed my tutorial space a bit, just so then I have my magic books as a background. And yeah, that space kind of turned into a drawing space, so I just draw a lot now these days. And so yeah, I don't know why I didn't release any videos. I've had like 15 backlog, but I just didn't want to release any because, I like to have a backlog, so. But yeah, that's just whatever, right? So yeah, we're coming back with a new tutorial. Also for the backlog videos, I'll just slowly release them after this one. But yeah, for the new tutorial, so this video, as you can probably see from the title, it's going to be called the Harvey Rosenthal Pop-up Move. If you don't know what the move is, it's basically a way to get a break under the top card, right? Under just the first top card, right? So yeah, so if you're struggling to get a break under the top card during a sandwich load or for a color change, then this move is perfect for you. So just as a brief moment of, just as a brief, brief like historical introduction to the move, yeah, so you'll learn this move was first published in Carfol's, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Packet Tricks, I think. Packet Tricks Part 3 back in 1977. And then Larry Jennings proceeded to publish something similar called the Pressure Break from, he published it in the Card Rights back in 1988. And then Wesley James also has something called the Splay Grip, I believe, is in Enchantments. So yeah, but where I learned it from was actually from Armando Lucero's Paper Cuts DVD that he released with Sansmind. It was in DVD part, the first DVD actually. So yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. So as a prerequisite for the Harvey Rosenthal pop-up move, you need to know how to do this little pop-up move right here. So if you don't know how to do it, it's extremely simple. You just take your thumb and put it like on the upper left corner of the deck. You basically just drag the card up to the long edge, basically until it clears up. It clears your other fingers until it pops up. Yeah, that's basically where the namesake of the move came from, right? It's just a little pop-up move, right? And also for this pop-up move, I know a lot of people actually attribute it to Ed Marlowe, but I think that actually has its roots in the gambling world, just because this ensures that you're actually taking off the top card, right, of the deck. But as we've seen in Steve Fordy's Gambling Sleight of Hand books, you can actually do a second deal with this move, so it's kind of useless. But yeah, so I don't know why people attribute it to Ed Marlowe, but a lot of people attribute things to Ed Marlowe, even though things have come before him. But that's besides the point, right? Tangent over. So once again, you apply. You don't even need to apply pressure; it's just friction. So you just put your thumb near the top left corner of the deck. You basically just drag it until it clears your pinky, ring finger, middle finger, and index, and it just pops up. Yeah, so if you really wanted, so just as a few ideas, you can use this for an ambitious card. So you can have like, I take this card to the middle. As I push it in, watch it pop up, right? That's just whatever. Don't actually use that because it's actually really stupid, but yeah. So let's get into the Harvey Rosenthal pop-up move, the main move now. So this move is extremely simple. You're basically going to do the pop-up move that I told you about before, but this time your index is actually going to stay in the way. So you're actually just going to want a bit of the flesh of your index over here, right? You're going to proceed to do the pop-up move, but because your index is in the way, look at what happens, right? Wait, hold on. There we go. So you can see that the card actually buckles because of the index is in the way. So I can actually show it. So So if I actually apply pressure with the index later, so as I'm doing the pop-up, this is basically what happens on a bigger scale. Yeah. But because your index is right there from the start, look how it basically just buckles the card. And that's the break, right? So once again, you're basically just going to do the pop-up move, but your index is in the way, right? It is there from the start. And yeah, it just buckles, and you just stick your pinky in there and release pressure, and it'll naturally glide onto your pinky, right? And that's the Harvey Rosenthal pop-up move, right? It is a very brief, it's just a very simple move, but believe me, right? But believe me when I say, like, you don't need a lot of pressure for this move, right? They're cards, right? They're made of paper, so you don't need that much pressure for them to move around, right? So just in case, right, you just need a bit of pressure, right? So just this, right? There we go. And that's all I need for my break, right? Just the slightest amount of pressure and you will get this move to work, right? You don't need this, right? And yeah, just aside from pressure, you also, as I've said with the pinky count, which you can actually see tutorial down somewhere in the thing. I'll put a playlist after, like, at the end, right? But yeah, so as with the pinky count, you also want to shift the plane of the deck perpendicular with the ground, right? So I've said this before, but like this is like an active plane, right? And this is like a relaxed plane, right? Where you're seemingly not doing anything, because here, this is mostly where all the action happens, right? When you spread a card, it's along this plane. When you dribble a card, it's also along this plane, right? So yeah, so if you want to have like a more natural resting position, I want to say, then shift your deck perpendicular with your hand, right? You'll also notice that when you drop your hands to your sides, it'll also be along this plane, right? So that's what I want to emulate, right? Ben Earl also has some work on this. I think he probably goes into more detail than I do, but yeah. Right, so obviously to avoid, so that's basically the two tips, right? Pressure, so you don't need a lot of pressure. If you apply too much pressure, this actually pops up way too much and you'll flash it, right? So you just want a minimal amount of pressure, so just that, right? Well, that was still too much, but yeah, you get the point. So just boop, and that's that, right? And yeah, and obviously the second tip is just shifting the plane of the deck. Now, as a sort of follow-up to the Harvey Rosenthal Pop-up Move, Steve Draun actually has something that uses a similar principle, right? It is not exactly the same, but it is similar enough, right? So here we just have our double. So after you're done doing your double, actually I'll just show it to you first, right? So you just did your double, and yeah, to recover a break from the double, yeah, that's that, right? So I show it again, right? So this is taught in Talk About Tricks, which I actually reviewed a while back. Talk About Tricks, Volume 2, page 1214. The reason why I actually know that is because I actually looked it up last night to make sure that I have my crediting right. So Steve Draun, it was in his expert talks section on the double lift. Right, so in there, he actually has something of somewhat similar roots to the Harvey Rosenthal Pop-up Move, but it is from after a double, right? So using what I taught you guys before, so just a pinky count, right? The soft double. Now, after you're done picking up the double, what you want to do is that the moment you lay the double on top of the deck, you actually want to have a slight out jog, right? So this is exaggerated, but if you actually have a slight out jog, right? So just about this much, right? So it's protruding from the front of the deck, right? To secure a break from this card, you actually want to put your thumb there, much like the pop-up move, but instead of moving your thumb forward, you actually want to move your index backwards, right? But because your thumb is actually applying pressure somewhat downwards, right? So it's actually applying pressure downwards as your index is pushing backwards, look at what happens, right? It pops up, right? Which means now you can stick your pinky in and get a break underneath the double, right? So this works the exact same way as the Harvey Rosenthal pop-up move, but it's kind of backwards, right? So again, that's the double, right? Here, you want your out jog over here. And so it is the opposite, but same as the Harvey Rosenthal pop-up move, in that it is not your thumb that moves, but your index. So yeah, basically both of their roles switch. So index stays still, but now it moves, and then thumb stays moved, and yeah, you get the point, right? So basically, again, I'll recap. So you just want to apply slight pressure with your thumb, and you just want to push your index backwards, right? So over here, boop, and that's that, right? And also, just as a brief tip, you want to make sure that your pinky, ring, and middle finger isn't staying in the way of the card. So if you notice that the card wants to buckle, but your fingers are in the way, you just want to move them slightly out of the way, and then they'll just naturally lift, right? So if you notice that your fingers are blocking the card from rising, just slightly shift them off to the side, and you'll notice that the card will pop up without any problem. So yeah, that was pretty much the Harvey Rosenthal pop-up move. It was a rather short tutorial, but it is a simple move. But I just want you to remember, pressure is very slight on the cards. I want you guys to have a soft touch on the cards because they are paper, right? If you're handling cards like this, then I think you're kind of doing it wrong and you're just gorilla gripping, so don't do that. And the second thing is just shifting the plane of the deck perpendicular with the ground, because that is just a default human position. And yeah. For further reading, well, obviously I cited all my the history from there, but yeah, I'll search for the further reading section. I'll just list a bunch of double lifts or other ways to get a break. So under the top card, or under like the top cards, right? But yeah. So where you can also learn this is from Tony Chang's, I believe, on the Cherry Control download. So you can learn that over there. Enchantments is out of print. Armando Lucero's Paper Cuts DVDs are also not on sale anymore, so you can't get that anymore. So yeah, so I believe, Talk About Tricks is over there. I don't know if you can see it, but Talk About Tricks is over there. So you can go buy that on Vanishing Ink. It is still in print. But besides that, yeah, you guys will have a new tool in your arsenal. It might be basic, but that does not mean it is devoid of utility. Please use this tool well. And yeah, that will be about it for this tutorial. Thank you for sticking around, and please treat the craft with respect. I know I'm teaching it around, but that's because I want you guys to have a path and know where to go after having like some basics down. So study the further reading section well, and yeah, see you guys soon, I guess.